What is happening, traders? It's your host, Woodz. Welcome back for another episode of NOFOMO. What happens when two traders team up? Not for clout, not for flexing, but to actually build something that helps the community grow. On this episode of NOFOMO, I sit down with Tyler and Cameron, the two minds behind Trade Buddy, a platform born from their own trading struggles, lessons, and wins. We dive into the journey, from blowing accounts to building systems that take emotion out the game. No gimmicks, no rented Lambos, just two dudes serious about leveling up and helping others to do the same. If you're tired of the smoke and mirrors in the trading world, this one's for you. Let's get into it. This is NOFOMO. What's happening, guys? We're back with another episode of NOFOMO. And today we have Tyler and Cam on the line, man. And I've seen these guys run a wonderful community, and I'm excited to have them on to get to know them and see how they're doing their thing. What's happening, guys? What's going on?
What's up, man? How are you?
Oh, man, I can't complain. Trying to stay 10 toes in it all, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, man, I am excited to have this dynamic duo of you two on. So tell me about yourself. How did you guys first get into trading, and what drew you to it seriously?
All right. T, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. So, I got into trading like when I was in high school. I ended up researching a stock, and long story short, didn't know anything about it. Ended up making some money, got hooked, and I've just been looking into it ever since as far as how I got started. And then really picked it back up like 2018, 2019, and really started like going all in on it. And then was trading manually, and then ended up meeting Cam like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And then we started trading together, and then eventually started working on some systems.
Nice.
Yeah, so for me, my trading journey, funny enough, actually started with algos on gold using a MetaTrader. Hang on one second. Let me look. Yeah, so my journey started probably about 7 or 8 years ago on gold. I was playing around with pre-built algos on MetaTrader. So I kind of broke in to the algos with that and had a little bit of success, but didn't really understand what I was doing. And then from there, I went over to options trading, and I spent quite a bit of time doing options, trading shares, and then I came across the wild landscape of futures trading. And I've been pretty much just doing futures ever since I found futures. Like the day I heard about futures, I was like, oh, this sounds awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
And like, can you tell me like, what were some of your biggest challenges you faced early on? Like, how did you push through them? How did you push through those challenges?
T, you want to go first?
Man, as far as pushing through challenges, it's really like everything kind of has a progression, and so with technical analysis, it's like you could only really go so far. So kind of where we're at now, as far as pushing through challenges, trading's tough, man. It is probably the toughest industry on the planet,
right.
And so I think you have to have a good routine, and I think you have to enjoy it to be able to push through. But man, I really think one of the biggest helps has been like having trading communities, having other people to trade with. And then like last year and a half, 2 years, me and Cam have been working on the systems, and like, man, there's been like one or two times where we kind of just got stuck, and we were like, we don't really know what direction to take with the algo side, but also just with the company side too. So it's like, man, as far as just pushing through, man, the best advice, I guess, or what we did is really we just kept going. I wouldn't say that there was really any secret to it. We kind of let the problems work themselves out organically. I think, we spent a lot of time separately kind of like working on these issues, thinking about different things to try, just trial and error, and then we come together. Hey, I was thinking this. Hey, I was thinking this. And then we'll kind of bounce off each other, and then usually something happens, and we'll sometimes we build something or have an idea and it doesn't work, so I think that's really the thing in trading is just more iterations, just trying again, trial and error,
Right. And was there a specific moment when a trade, was there a specific moment or a trade when things started to click for you?
Man, to be honest, kind of one of the biggest things that I believe with Trade Buddy is like, man, we both just got tired of the fluff on social media, on YouTube. It's like, man, there's so many strategies out there, and it's like, okay, we only want to trade what we know works. We're not going to listen to whatever someone says is a good strategy. We love the back testing features, but we got to forward test a lot of stuff too. And we're learning a lot with that too, like just the different types of systems that there are, and how we can put them in the market.
Yeah. From my end, one of the biggest things was, for when I first started, you kind of have this idea in your head that there's this super secret get rich quick strategy.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it happens every day at this exact time. And if you could just figure out what that time is and what that strategy is, you're done. You're good. And so a lot of what I was chasing for a long time was what's the secret sauce? What are all the big market makers doing? And then for a long time I believed that there was, one central algo, and I was like, well, I just need to figure out what it's doing and then I'll be good. But what when it really turned around for me is that I realized that hedge funds and banks and retail, they're all working against each other. Because the market, especially futures, it's a zero-sum game. So in order for someone else to win, someone else has got to lose. Now, I know that's not entirely true because, the economy expands and stuff like that. But if you think about a day trading perspective, people going long, people going short. When you make money out of a trade, it comes out of someone's pocket. Do you know what I mean? And so I realized that these guys are all really fighting each other to get pieces of the market out. So it's not that there's some super secret strategy. It's that the market conditions are dynamic. They're always changing. And once I realized that, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to find one super secret strategy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find 4 or 5 consistent strategies that work at different conditions of the market, different times of the year, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I got out of this idea of what's the secret sauce versus if this is a dynamic chaos system, like similar to the weather, right? You can kind of get an idea if it's going to rain next Sunday, but you don't know for sure.
Right.
But if you know the chances are high that it's going to rain next Sunday, you can plan and you can kind of get ready for it, even if it does or doesn't happen, right? At least you can give yourself the best shot. So once I realized that, I stopped going like, oh man, why isn't the silver bullet working between 9 and 10 a.m.? Like, it should work. And when you believe something like that so strongly, you'll still enter the trade even if it doesn't look like it's going to work.
Just based off of confirmation bias.
If you're just if you're so convinced, like, man, this has to work because this is how the market moves. If you're so convinced, it doesn't matter how bad the market can do, you'll still enter the trade. And so I realized that just, and it's even worse for new traders because maybe they'll get lucky and they start doing that when the market conditions are favorable. And 3-4 weeks they kill it, they get a payout, and then 4 months after that it just doesn't work. And so that was the turning point for me when I realized, like, you can't stay the same in this game. You have to be dynamic and you have to change and realize that if the market always did the same thing, then anyone who figured that out would always make money. And there's no fund or bank, no one's got 100% success rate. So clearly that can't be true. It's paradoxical.
Yeah.
So,
man, one of the biggest things I feel like we've learned from the systems is like the market is very good at being efficient. And it's like if you have a system that works very well consistently, like the silver bullet, like he had mentioned, that's something we could show you a profitable 10-year, 15-year back test. Now, it's that's the thing though, is it's not a lot of profit. So kind of like he said, it's more so expanding with the market. You know, it's a system that floats near break even. So it's like if you want to make money for the long term, you could do that in small increments, and you have to compound and things like that. But if you really want to drive some equity in, you have to capture these shifts that the market has. Like the other day, we built a system, or Cam built a system, and we looked at two bullish markets in the stock market, and it traded completely different in basically the exact same trending market. It was going the exact same speed at the exact same time, but for whatever reason, the numbers were different.
So like, tell me, I see you guys on stream every single day. It's impressive. What's it like trading side by side every day? How do you handle differences in trade styles and ideas?
Well, I mean, I think that's a good compliment. Tyler's more vocal than I am. I'm more on the tech side, so, you know, typically when I'm trading, I'm watching what the algos are doing and looking at technical stuff. And Tyler's like a little bit more opposite. He's a lot more vocal. So, you know, when it comes to streaming and trading, I think it's a good kind of dichotomy of two different personalities.
Right.
You know, and most of the time we agree with, you know, whatever our analysis is for the day or, you know, for the next hour. So it's a good compliment because sometimes you need like a sounding board to say, hey, you know, I'm looking at this. And the other person goes, oh, well, just, you know, you watch out for this as well. You know,
Yeah.
so it's nice to have more than one opinion. It helps with being overly biased, you know.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say, I
Especially with
imagine it
me,
helps
yeah.
to fight that confirmation bias.
Yeah, because especially like sometimes I see something on one of our indicators and I'm like, man, I'm so convinced this is going to happen. You know,
Right.
and then having a sounding board of saying, well, you know, this and this has happened, so I mean, your chances have gone down.
Yeah.
You know, it makes a
Yeah.
difference. Like, it definitely helps to trade in a small group
Yeah. I would definitely
versus by
say.
yourself.
I would definitely say with the stream, you know, Cam is the brains, man. I'm the mouth. You know, I'm just relaying what Cam has built. You know, I've tried to learn Pine Script. I've tried to learn coding, probably not with as much effort as I should. But man, it's something that is a real skill.
Yeah.
You know, and it takes a long time, and that's something that Cam has. You know, and I've always like been passionate about teaching trading and posting YouTube videos and stuff like that. So I think, you know, we definitely work very well together. We didn't get too much into it, but it's pretty funny because me and Cam were actually trading, just me and him, on Discord for like a year and a half.
Wow.
And then
Yeah, just us two, yeah.
and we had started building the systems like to help our trading. Like we were working on the silver bullet, and it was like, well, let's, you know, Cam was like, I think I could build something that might send us alerts, and it kind of just grew from there. And it was like, okay, well, this system is good. It's very consistent, but now we want to drive some equity in and pass some challenges and do some stuff like that. And so it's kind of grown that way now. But man, I think being on the stream together is definitely a huge help. I feel like we agree with most of what we're looking for because we're trading the same systems,
Right.
you know. But like we have this tool called the HTF tool that Cam built, and it's essentially like maybe you've seen it, but it backtests all of like price history. Say it's like a monthly high. You can add an extension to that high and say, based off of price breaking out of every previous monthly high that's ever existed, what's the percentage chance we get to this level or this extension? And so, I mean, when we use tools like that, I think it helps us to be on board with a lot of the longer term stuff. And I feel like it's more just about like what's going to happen on the short term with these day trades, which I feel like no one really knows, you know?
Sweet. So like, run me down on what's a typical trading day like for you both, from prep to execution on the wrap up.
Yeah, so on my end, typically Monday morning pre-market, I'll do like a weekly analysis. So I built that tool, the HTF tool, which is just stands for higher time frame. So I'll look at my weekly high and low, look at, okay, what's a 1.1 extension, 1.2 extension if we take the high or low. kind of look at some key weekly levels. I'll mark them out on my chart, and then on the daily, I'll go down to the daily version of that same thing. So it show me previous day high, previous day low, and then look at okay, what are our extension levels, where we at, where are our gaps at, and then yeah, we just there's not really much prep after that. When it comes to market open and depending on what time the various algos run,
Yeah,
I'll
with
sit and just at this
yeah.
point for me now it's really just monitoring. Like I'm not really taking a lot of manual trades anymore.
Yesterday or the day before, I was like telling Cam, I'm like, man, the signals went off today. I was actually on stream a little bit later. I caught them all. I'm like, that's been the first time in like maybe a couple days where all the signals came through at once at the same time on the stream. And he was like, oh, that's cool. I was cooking chicken wings. So it's like when you have it automated, it is pretty cool on that side, As far as preparation, though, I mean, in the mornings, I just like walk the dog or go to the gym and then hop on. And I'll do roughly the same thing as Cam, just look at the higher time frame tool, check out what levels are rough, and then I just hang out on the stream and wait for a signal.
Nice.
Cam's put all the systems and hard work and everything into that, where I feel like at this point I have to trust the systems. It's backed by data, and Cam works his tail off to make sure those systems are as accurate as possible.
Yeah, and I feel like you can over prepare for the market too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If you look at too many levels and you do too much analysis, you
get analysis paralysis.
Developing analysis paralysis, or you develop like a confirmation bias because you see something, you become so convinced that it's going to happen. Instead of just maybe trying to react a little bit to how open looks, and okay, it looks like we're going to hit this level or it doesn't. I've done that so many times where I've logged on pre-market, become way too convinced that a level's going to hit, and then I just take trades to that level all day long, and I get cooked. Because the thing is, like, the market doesn't have to do it right now. So I would say 8 times out of 10, if I call a level, it'll hit. But the question is, what's going to happen in between that call?
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So that's where the patience comes into it. Okay, well, you don't want to get in at market open. Let's wait, see what price looks like it wants to do, and then see if we can, participate in that.
So like, what would you? I know you guys said that you have a couple of different systems and you're building systems as you go as well. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure you're constantly adding to that. What would you describe your core trading strategy today, and how did it evolve?
That's a really good question. So it has evolved a lot. So obviously when we first started, we were very focused on like ICT type concepts, I would say. Like silver bullets and stuff like that.
So you use a lot of fair value gaps, order blocks.
Well, I was.
Okay.
I was, yeah. So we were doing a lot of that. And so now really my core strategy is breakout ranges.
Okay.
I would say that's the core. So, the 15-minute orb on YM or US30 is really good.
Okay.
The first 30 minutes of gold is a really nice breakout range. For ES and NQ, the first hour, so the first 30 minutes before trading, the first 30 minutes after, so the New York 9 a.m. candle. So looking for not just breakouts, but reversals through that range. For me, those are the key strategies that I'm trading on live accounts.
Right. Now I know that. Well, Tyler, did you want to add to that?
Man, I would just say that I would want Cam, just for the audience to add, because I know this would be super valuable for them. Is like, because we freaking. Man, Cam has programmed, I couldn't even tell you the amount of hours, man, but Cam's probably programmed 100 systems, and we've probably thrown 60 or 70 out,
Yeah.
But what we've noticed, kind of like I was talking about earlier with the silver bullet, where it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can either have consistency or you can have like high equity, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think with the orbs, the reason for the orbs, or the reason that kind of we've shifted that way, is because we're just following the data. We're looking for the most profitable system, you know? And so like one thing that we've been doing right now is, yes, the orb, but the way that Cam looks at it and the way that it's structured is like, we're trading things based on like seasonality. Because if you just run an orb and you just run it into forever, it's not going to have the best return. Some of them will, again, they'll float with just a little bit of money, but your down draw could be who knows what, you know. But when you run orbs based on certain seasons, you kind of have to take what's working right now and then use that, and then things that aren't working right now will come back into swing. The market's very dynamic like that. So Cam, if you could just shed just a little bit of light on how you do that, because that's probably, I think, the most impressive thing that I've seen so far.
So like, it's a great example. So I don't know if you've noticed on social media over the last 3 to 4 months, there's been this huge kind of reawakening of the 15-minute opening range. A lot of guys are like, just if it closes outside or below, then you go short and you look for a 2 extension or a 3 extension of whatever the range size is. And, you know, I've tested a lot of different settings on the opening range. And over the long term, it is not a profitable strategy, right? Maybe if you're at a hedge fund who can take $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 of down draw, then that strategy is a workable strategy. But anyway, so once I got into the back testing, I was looking at years and years of data, and you see the chart. It's just these huge. You get these nice draw ups and equities, and then these crashes and draw ups and crashes. So, the logical thing to do is let's take the chunks of data where it goes down, draw down on a daily chart, across 5 to 10 years, and see, what's happening in the market that these things are happening. And so I took that data and I overlaid it against, I don't know, all the way back to like 2012 or whatever it was. And I would literally drew a little box around, so this time period draw down, this time period draw down, right? Thinking that I was going to see a pattern. And there was no pattern. You couldn't just look at the chart and be like, oh, of course, this is why it's doing that, right? But then we started getting into the idea of seasonality. So, we know the summer months tend to be slower, and price tends to consolidate.
Right, because you have less traders active.
Right. So it wasn't a question of what's happening in the market, but what's happening during that time of year, right? And now it's rough, you know what I mean? It doesn't like officially start June 1st, the market slows down right away, right? It will make a transition somewhere in summer. And so what I realized, let's say you have a 15-minute breakout strategy you're trading, right? As soon as the candle closes outside of the range, you take it long and your stop's at the bottom of the range. Easy. That works for the first bit of the year. But then in the second half of the year, once we get into summer, price tends to run the high, run the low, run the high again, and then if it's going to move, it'll make a move. So it tends to run that range a lot more.
So more indecisiveness.
But you can create a system that can capitalize on indecisiveness. For example, one of our systems, I call it a false run. So it'll look for a close outside of the top of the range. So a 5-minute candle has to close outside of the top of the range, and then it has to come back down and close through the bottom of the range. And then it takes almost like a reverse breakout. So then it takes a short with the stop at the top of the range, and your TP is at a 2 extension of whatever the bottom of the range is.
Nice.
Those kind of systems work very well for consolidation. Do you know what I mean? So we say, so like currently we're running that system from now until the end of October. End of September, we'll run that system.
Nice.
Because if you go and backtest, we're going to put this system on for just this 3 to 4 month period, and then check it for 5 years, it's consistently profitable. I think the only time it got hit was during 2020, but that was an outlier.
Right.
It's consistently profitable, but only for that 3 to 4 month period. That's the only time it's profitable. And you go, okay, that makes sense. So with these strategies, it doesn't say that the strategies are seasonal, but what it's telling me is that the market is seasonal.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's telling me that throughout times of the year, your breakouts are not always going to work. Your liquidity sweeps or whatever you want to call it, it's not always going to work. So once we started drilling down into that, that's when it started opening a lot of doors of like, okay, hedge funds and traders, they're reacting to volume. Actually, funny enough, a story on volume. One of the first things I dug into on volume was there was this idea floating around that if the volume of the range is high, it's got a much higher chance of breaking out. This actually has no correlation to whether it'll break out or not.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So I took about 6 years worth of data where I recorded the opening range volume, okay, and then I compared it to how often it would break out and hit CP versus not, and then I took that data and I overlaid it against systems where it took the false run, thinking that, okay, there should be like a correlation between these data points, and there was literally none. Like, it could be the same volume where a breakout doesn't work and the same volume where it does. I think that the variance was like a 0.5% variance between the systems. So to me, volume didn't play a factor. I tested ATR, so average true range, that didn't play a factor. And then I tested the size of the range, so literally the physical size of the range in points. And so, but I found that when you combine these three factors together, so when you look at your ATR, okay, you look at your volume of the range, and then you look at your whatever. Anyways, when you combine those three factors, you can to about 60% predict whether it'll be a breakout condition or if it'll be like a false run. Now, that's not a huge number, but 60% is enough to make a profitable, consistent system off of.
Yeah.
Nice. So like I know you mentioned a few times that you have tools that you've created and utilize. What tools or indicators or setups do you rely on the most on deciding your entry, your exit on a trade?
Well, I mean, for me right now, I'm all systems based.
Okay.
Right. So I'm no longer really making any decisions on what the system's doing. I'm just monitoring, and because we're kind of in our beta phase, I'm just looking at like outlier days. So like yesterday was FOMC, so I was paying a lot more attention to what the systems were doing. But I think in the near future we'll be able to take our higher time frame tools and our range trading tools, our silver bullet tools, and we're going to integrate them, because there is like some of the most amazing huge run setups have come from the higher time frame tool, like coming down to high volume midnight ranges and stuff like that. The thing is, I haven't figured out a way to automate that. But there are some amazing setups if you just look at previous day highs and lows. Where are the large volume sections? I'm not sure if I really answered your question, but it really, like, a lot of it comes down to however the day looks.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, where's our volume at? So
it's just like when you walk into any situation where you're working and you have a toolbox. And some days you may need a wrench, some days you may need a socket wrench, some days you may need a screwdriver or a flathead, so
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
So it is dynamic. Like, for example, if yesterday's previous range was 500 points, and by market open, it's already run 500 points above the high, chances are I'm not going to take a lot of trades, right? Because I know it's a 2 extension. It's a very, very low probability that it goes higher. There's a good chance it could come down, but how quick and how soon is it going to come down? Well, you don't. It's hard to tell.
Right.
So days like that, I'm probably just going to let the systems just do their thing. I'm not going to try intervene or do anything manually, because I already know, like, if I have no target, where do I think there's a good chance of it going, then your odds just come down a little bit.
That's very interesting, man. It leads me into how I wanted to ask, how do you guys manage risks? Like, do you each have a system or rules that you follow to protect your capital?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the systems themselves, right? The system themselves are where everything's already engineered, you know. And one of the things that we learned with the higher time frame tool was that we could get levels and put probability to them. So
Mm.
like Cam was talking about the orb earlier. Well, it's not just the HTF tool. Like the orb, when he's talking about that 2 extension, when it pops up as the indicator, it has a percentage next to it. So based on all of the orb ranges, if it broke out to the high, it made it to this extension this percent of the time. And so it's not just it's that way for the retracements as well. So I mean, we're kind of the risk is really predetermined, you know, and back tested. And so that's something that we're kind of already trusting with the systems. You know, it's kind of already predetermined and set on how much we're going to risk, how we're going to manage the trade. Because, you know, one thing that I love about the systems is, I mean, obviously, if you're still manually copying the trade over, there's still a lot of psychology you have to deal with. But when it's fully automated, there's no psychology. You know, maybe in the long run where you're like, should I turn this system off and turn this one on? It gets more psychological that way. But as far as like, should I TP now or should I move my stop? You know, that with automation, that's just it's not even a factor really.
Right.
You know, like Cam
Right.
was saying, he was cooking chicken wings the other day
Yeah.
while he was trading. He didn't know if it was about to hit his TP or if it was about to hit his stop because we're backpacking off of data, and that goes back to kind of what I was saying in the beginning too, of like, man, we just got to the point where we were like, we cannot trust what any strategy says. Anything that we find on YouTube or Twitter, wherever, any course, because we want to roll it forward into something that we can test and then look at the data, and then we just follow the data. And that's helped with the systems grow organically too, because we're just following what works. You know what I mean? We're like, what has a decent win rate, and really not even win rate. We like a high win rate, but it's really comes down to profit factor and drawdown and how much you're making. You know, but as far as management, I mean, with the automations, it's hands free.
Right. Right.
You know, but yeah, as far as the management, everything's pretty much already there for you.
Yeah, and you know, just to add on to risk management and stuff like that, like risk management is a very crucial part of
Right.
trading. So, you know, in my mind, there's two sides to risk management. So there's the what am I risking on this particular trade, and then what's the risk to my account.
Yeah. Talk about a challenge, Cam, and like one of the systems with the down draw and all.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, when you're looking at risk on a trade, those are preset by our system. Okay, so if I'm taking an orb breakout, my stop loss will be the bottom of that orb, or whatever the opposite end is. That's set, and the system's not going to change that. You know what I mean? So I don't have to worry. I don't have to focus too much on what is my particular stop loss, because I've tested 6,500 trades and I know that this is a reasonably good stop loss. Do you know what I mean? And I've tested, you know, okay, let's put the stop at the halfway, and you know what I mean. So I've gone through all the back testing data on where's the most efficient place to put my stop. So then the question becomes, okay, well, if I'm trying to pass a prop firm challenge, right, and it's let's say it's a top step $50,000 account. Really, I only have a $2,000 account. It's not a 50K account. Okay, so I have $2,000 to play with. So there's two questions that you have to ask on a prop firm, right? How many losses can I withstand in a row? So the system will tell you, okay, what's its worst losing streak? 5 in a row. Okay, well, I need to plan whatever my contract size is. I need to be able to withstand 5 losses in a row.
Right.
Or unless, but you know, it's a prop firm. So if you want to be a bit aggressive, then you can say, well, if I blow it, it's not really a big deal. But like, I have one of these systems running on a live account, which is just funded by myself. So that one I've set up to be able to say, cool, I want to be able to withstand 10 back-to-back losses based off just the average loss size. Do you know what I mean? Give myself a good enough chance to not blow up. Because I think, especially in the beginning, if you're too aggressive, you could have a bunch of, especially when it comes to a win streak. You get on a win streak, and then you're like, oh, I'm just going to up the contracts because it's winning. But it's like, in that movie, The Big Short, where they talk about the hot hand fallacy. So people make this assumption because they see something happen over and over again, they assume that it'll continue into the future. And that's one thing with trading bots or trading strategies in general, is they don't continue indefinitely into the future. Right? So you have to be able to say, if I'm winning, what's my max loss?
Right.
Right. So for me, it's 5 to 10 losing days is typically what I'll plan for when I'm planning on an account. And then I think it's important to like not push beyond what the account can handle. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes a winning day is right after your worst day. So if you blow up on your worst day, do you know what I mean? Then you look at the next day and you're like, oh man, I would have made like half of it back if I didn't, so.
and that leads me into ask, because you did speak on like changing market conditions. Like, do you ever have to adapt or tweak your strategy based on changing market conditions in the moment? And if so, how do you do that when things rapidly change? I know myself, like when the whole trade war stuff happened, that was a big shift, and I took 2 weeks of hits, and I had to totally switch up how I was trading. My trading style was.
Yeah, for me, I know exactly what you mean. For me, the best thing to do is to turn everything off. Right? It's like this. Imagine you're a professional football player, right? And you've trained to play this specific kind of game. And there's millions of dollars invested in you to learn this one specific skill, right? But now, for 3 weeks, you're gonna go and play. You're gonna go become a swimmer. The problem is, if you put too much training into swimming, you might degrade some of your skills in football, right? So it's like, well, why would I try make massive adjustments to what I'm doing for something that'll represent ultimately a very short time in the market, right? So for me, I'm like, if stuff starts getting crazy, rather just sit on the sidelines with a bucket of popcorn and watch other people blow up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, why would I change years and years and years of data? Because trade wars, it did make the market go crazy, but I'm sure if we looked at the length, that maybe it was like 4 to 5 weeks. So it's like, just sit out, or making another account that you can afford to lose and just play around and kind of just see. But I think trying to adapt to like heavy news changes is a losing game, because you have no data to go off of. Like Trump tweeting, like, where can you go back in history and see how's the market going to react? You literally have no way to know. So it's like there's not a lot of point in doing that. Or if you're going to force yourself to trade those days, then you should like de-risk. Like if you're trading a full NQ contract, you should be trading one micro.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, divide your leverage by 10, and then at least you can still play. You can still kind of do what you want to do. But I don't think it's worth it to try be too adaptable to outlier time periods, because they're not going to last. Like, the market will always eventually get back on track.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And so this particular section, I'm really interested to talk to you guys about, because you guys are algo traders. You're a lot of stuff is automated. What role does emotional control play in your trading, especially during losing streaks or drawdown?
Yeah. T, you want to kick that one off?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of going back to the management thing, as far as emotional control, you're looking at like the larger scale. As far as like looking at individual trades, like, so one thing that we're looking at with the systems is like, okay, if there's a win rate, you have a range low and a range high and an average. And if you have a profit factor, you have a range high, range low, and an average. And so what we're looking at with the systems is like right now is when to shift them, when to turn them on, turn them off. So as far as like being emotional, like, it's like if the data is saying that the system has a chance at working, that's something that we'll take, and if the data suggests that, like, so essentially, like, if you go through our HTF course that's on YouTube, we generally look between like 40 and 60% as far as data. That's considered decent, right? Really 50 and 60% is more dialed in. But like say that a system dropped below its average, then we'd be like, okay, well, the system can drop below the average, but if it starts to drop near the min, then we know that the system's really not working. We need to shut it off, drop that and move to something else. Maybe come back when it's working well again. So I feel like when it comes to the systems, the emotional control is really just based on that. And really, I mean, Cam's messing with most of the systems, so that's really like more of something that he deals with. I feel like when I'm in the individual trades, it's a lot easier because I've gone against the setups, and sometimes it works, but most times it doesn't. I end up slapping myself on the wrist. I'm like, man, what's the point of going and doing, all this work and having Cam build these systems just to not trust it? You know what I mean? So it's a lot easier now to just trust the data, trust the systems, and when they're working like they've been working the past couple months, it's really easy to just keep following them because they've been killing it.
Yeah, I mean, emotional control, that's probably the hardest thing to learn in trading.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, identifying setups, like, that's all, let's be honest, that's 6 months to a year's worth of work. Do you know what I mean? But that emotional control, it's so tough. And I think it's very hard to teach emotional control because individuals are, like, wildly different.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a great, like, manual trader, right? Because it's like a gift and a curse for me, right? Because I get very deep in analysis. I'm very technical, right? But that also means that I suffer from overthinking, right? And so overthinking can lead to a lot of second guessing, changing your trades, seeing things that are not really there, at least on the charts. So, algo trading is a way for me to remove that part of the equation from my trading, right? If I can make thousands of dollars in a month and then next month lose it all, my trading strategy is not the problem, I'm the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or if I can win for 7 days straight and then on the 8th day blow that account, my strategy is not the problem, I'm the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So then you got two questions to ask yourself. Okay, if I'm the problem, then what do? Do I spend years doing some namaste stuff and put some incense in my room and you know what I mean? Or I need to understand that my personality type is not compatible with that kind of trading.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like in order to become good at that, I would have to do like a fundamental code rewrite of my brain.
Of who you are. Yeah.
Right. But the thing is, like, it does give me an advantage when it comes to algo trading because that level of detail and that technicality plays very well if you're going to program and create systems, right?
Yeah.
So it's like two sides of the same coin. So I think, especially for new traders, like, I mean, you come into trading and you don't realize that psychology is going to be your biggest barrier. Like, by a long shot. By like 80%, 90% of all the suffering you'll experience in trading is in your own head. Do you know what I mean? And so, like, some of the things that I do and I would recommend for new traders is set a daily max stop loss and take profit. If you hit $500 in a day, like, that's the one thing I do, like, give a lot of props to Top Step for, is if you hit $500 a day, you can lock your accounts out. Which, if you have a live funded account where it's your own money, like, those features are there. Do you know what I mean? But most prop firms, they don't do any of that. So if you're, like, let's say if you're starting on your first account, you should be trading micro contracts, right? Your max daily stop loss will be $200 to $300, and your max daily TP should be around 600, so like a 2 to 1.
Right.
And then it locks you out for the rest of the day. And then you should have a weekly max stop of maybe like $600-700. Do you know what I mean? Because it's always everyone, at least everyone that I've spoken to, always blows up their accounts on their worst days. They buy a new challenge and then make like $1,000 the next day. So they're like, man, it's always the same story, man. If I just didn't trade when I knew I should have
Right,
kept
right.
trading. I knew I should have taken that trade, but you can't control yourself in the moment. Like you can't, and it's like I think for most normal people, like it's not reasonable to think that you're gonna just gain that control out of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It
Like,
takes years of practice.
The market's designed to give you FOMO. You know what I mean? That's why gambling is so addictive. Is because everything about it's designed to give you FOMO. Like it just plays on all like just how the systems in your body work. So it's like, have those hard TPs, have those hard stop losses, and when you're out, you're out. And I think through forcing that mechanism over months, it'll become second nature. But I think if you do the opposite and you revenge trade, hoping to then stop revenge trading, that doesn't work. You know what I mean? You don't get thin by being like, if I eat enough cheeseburgers, eventually I'll stop eating cheeseburgers. It's like the way to do it is to limit how much you eat, right? So it's the same logic with trading. Is like, if you want to be like stop revenge trading, you have to set physical mechanisms in place to stop that. And then once your brain slowly starts to rewire, then you'll be able to do that naturally.
So, like, tell me, how do you guys keep each other accountable and grounded during high stress moments in the market?
That's a great question. I mean, I would say most of the time we just log off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or I'll just say, hey, I'm going to paper. I'm just going to have fun now.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I'll take like a 50,000 paper account on TradingView and be like, let me put on 1,000 contracts just for fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think trying to force yourself through high stress situations, it's just not
Right.
worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I would say like turning the systems off is one of the ones. If we just feel so frustrated, like the systems aren't working, because at the end of the day, with the way we trade, I mean, and really the way everyone is, but like the bot does exactly as much leverage as you tell it, and it takes the exact setup that you tell it, and so it's like really the only time I feel like we really start to get to a point of frustration is like longer term losing streaks, because it takes a lot to really start to for everything to start falling apart, because we're using a couple different strategies, and they kind of average out, building that equity curve higher. And there are times where like, man, it starts to turn and it's frustrating. It's like, well, let's just shut everything off, and then we end up coming back to the drawing board. Like I said, everything seemed, it's been very organic. It's just like, oh, well, that didn't work. Well, we've been here before. What did we do last time? Okay, well, last time we did this. Well, the market looked like that, and so it's kind of like Cam said earlier about the overthinking stuff. It's like, man, I'm very much the same way. I'm not wired the same way when it comes to like math and programming and stuff. But yeah, having the hands off and just being able to go in and super analyze and look at it from every perspective. Well, what if we'd have done this? What if we'd have done this? What if we'd have done that? What if we would have moved this here or moved that there? And then we can test it, look at the data, and be like, okay, this would have been a better situation because of this. And then we have a solution, and Cam will program that, and then we roll forward. It's been working so far.
And it's very interesting you say that, because that's one thing, like let's say, for example, you always trade the 50-minute opening range. That's your strategy. And then on this particular day, something happens where you're like, and then you get wrecked. You take a losing trade, and you're like, man, next time if I see the candle do a big wick like that, I'm not going to take the trade, right? So you do that all the time, but the advantage of having a system is, because I see that all the time, because I'm always monitoring the systems while they're trading, and I saw it do something, and I was like, I wonder what would happen if I programmed that out of the system. So then I programmed it out of the system, and I ran a 5-year back test, and the profitability went down significantly. So I was like, in the moment, I saw that, and I was like, man, that's so obvious. It shouldn't have taken that trade. But then you compare that to 5 years worth of data, and you say, okay, well, actually, more often or not, that trade will work out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think having that back testing data, it's so key, because, sometimes traders' rules can get thousands of pages long, and it's like, you can't just take a couple observations in the market and be like, oh yeah, I definitely should have taken that trade, or if this is this news event, I'm not going to trade it. It's like, just go back to the data and see and understand that no one has 100% win rate, right? And say over the last year, would adding or removing this type of trade, would it have made me money or would it have cost me money? Because ultimately, that's the only thing that matters. You know what I mean? That's why we're all doing this.
Right.
So, I try not to get too hung up on the details and just say, okay, well, if I'm going to change something, let's backtest it and see, is this change worth implementing? Or do I just have to accept the fact that sometimes this trade is going to cost me money? Sometimes you just have to accept the fact that this is not going to work out. You're not going to hit TP every single day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think that's what keeps it organic is when we have setups, I mean, we're not, there's never once where we've been able to push our bias onto a system because the system is X's and O's. It's ones and zeros. It is either winning or it's not. There's no in between. And like Cam said, you can like put something together and test it, and the numbers that it spits out are just facts. There's no opinions, there's no emotions in that, And then if I mean, the market's dynamic and we have to change kind of how we implement them, but
another thing with when it comes to designing algos, and this is something that people bring up a lot, and it's a very valid point. Not all backtests were created equal. Okay. And what I mean when I say that is, it's very important to pay attention to data quality when you're doing these tests, because I've seen guys posting these crazy win rate strategies, and then if I see something like that, I'll take it and replicate it and look at the quality of data. The thing is, just because of the way TradingViews and a lot of these backtesting systems work, especially when you do longer backtests, they repaint the candles, right? And so you can't always tell what was happening within the minutia. It doesn't know, like if it's a 5-minute candle, it has 4 data points: open, high, low, close. That's all it knows. So if you have a strategy where it would put the stop loss somewhere in the middle of that candle, it wouldn't know if you hit TP first or hit stop loss first, right? So it'll spit out bad data. Do you know what I mean? And so you have to kind of take it back. Hang on one sec.
But yeah, essentially, kind of what he's talking about is just the fluctuations inside of a candle. Like if you have one 5-minute candle, you don't know what the 1 minute's doing inside of that.
Yeah, so data quality is extremely important. And, I kind of ran into that issue trying to use things like trailing stop losses and stuff like that. I know a lot of traders use trailing stop losses. But it always comes back to, that's where your data can start getting whack. Can start getting very out of sync in terms of what your results are. And then obviously slippage you have to factor in. So, if someone's designing a new strategy, they have to look at their backtest results, go and compare what results you're getting, and go look on the physical chart and make sure that they match up, right? And then you have to forward test it for a period, right? So I recently created a strategy that runs off of the 5-minute candle but trades it on the 1 minute. So it's a very specific strategy, right? And it has really good results, but there is probably about a 10 to 20% slippage. So if it says, okay, over the last year it made $120,000, I understand that the 10 to 20% slippage there's somewhere. So either I made 100,000 or I made 140,000 or somewhere in between. Because sometimes slippage can work in your favor, sometimes it can work against you, right? So when we're designing these strategies, I try to make them as foolproof as possible for TradingView. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know the areas where it's going to produce bad data, and I don't ever program a system that has any of those functions where I could get back slightly bad data, right? Like, for example, I would never start a trade in a 5-minute candle and close it in the 5-minute candle and use that on the 5-minute chart, because there's no way for me to know in the backtest what happened in that 5-minute candle. Do you know what I mean? So I have a 5-minute candle strategy. I trade it on the 1 minute because I have all the open, high, and low closes from those 1-minute candles, so I can get within the 10 to 20% accuracy. Versus the other way around, it would be impossible to know.
And knowing that you guys are extremely big on data,
Yes.
do you keep a trading journal or review your trades? Like, what's the process for post trade analysis?
So obviously our systems track all of the
Uh huh.
trades. So it tracks. So, and this is a great point because this is where data hygiene comes into play, right? So I track what TradingView thinks the trade should have done, and then I look at what did the trade do on the actual live account, right? And I just keep a rough track. I don't need to be super detailed in every single trade. I'll just take TradingView thought I should have made $1,000. The reality of the trades coming through was $870, and I just log that. Okay, it's $130 worth of slippage. I'm not worried about $130 if I made $1,000, right? But if TradingView said I made 1,000 and I made 150 or I lost money, then I'm like, oh shit, okay, there's a problem. I need to go in and figure it out, right? So I'm not tracking for just for the sake of tracking. Data without purpose is just wasted on your hard drive. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just tracking, is there a problem? Is there a big variance between the systems? Is there anything I need to worry about? But ultimately, if money's coming out, you know, I'm happy. That's me personally.
Right. And like, let's talk about your education. You know what I'm saying, in the space. Are there any books, mentors, or resources that really shaped your development as traders?
Yeah. T, you want to go first?
As far as this new era that we're in, I would say really not as much. But when I was coming up, um, I took like Steve Morrow's course, the Market Maker Method, and then I was in ICT's private mentorship in like 2017 or 2018. And then we were I guess another one would be like POC trades or pack trades. We were following a lot of his stuff for a minute. And I can't remember the group that we got some of the 250, the MOC stuff from. But what was that one, Cam? Do you remember?
I don't, but that strategy didn't necessarily come from them though, because I was messing around at that time
Yeah.
before I found those guys. They just had a
Mhm.
different take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I mean, like Tyler said, a lot of our stuff is organic. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? So we've looked at what other people have said. We've developed systems around them. We've tested it. If the data is good, then we'll adapt it. If the data is not good, then we don't really spend any other time on it. So like a lot of guys that I do like to follow, there's this group called NQ Stats on Twitter. They're very data driven. They have a lot of just interesting ways of looking at things. I really like Dave Teacher's FX, even though I don't trade any of his systems. I just like the way that he approaches it. It's somewhat data driven, but it's also a little bit more mechanical. But like I said, we don't have I haven't done any of his systems, done anything that uses his stuff.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just get bits of information from people where you take it and then you find something interesting about it.
Yeah.
So, and obviously ICT was a big influence to my trading, even though I don't trade ICT at all.
Yeah.
But like I can't leave credit out to him because it started this process in my head of trying to find things that work.
Yeah. Yeah, and just my personal take on that, because I know he's huge right now. I think ICT is more of like a language, and I think it's like it's up to you as a trader to interpret how you wanna trade that, and our
Mm.
systems, we have the silver bullet. That is, something from ICT that we coded that, or Cam coded, that actually works. But as far as everything else, I mean, we don't really use it, and maybe some of the logic of price action we could have learned from there, but yeah, most is just like stuff that we pick and choose and draw out just from different forums and stuff. Like I was saying earlier, it's just, man, it really does come down to just the data, and there's a lot of our systems now, like the orb is extremely simple. And a lot of it's just, hey, what if we did this? What if we did that? What does that back test look like? So it's a lot more trial and error than it is like picking from different systems. So we'll just get some
Yeah.
inspiration from whatever frame that someone's using, and then kind of just it's our playground at that point, and we're just put all kind of different combos together. Like I guess one of the ways that it started organically was like we were looking at the ICT macro, and it was like, well, this is great, and it's like I would say it's like a mini orb. Obviously, you know, you're only looking at like 10 minutes. But the seasonality of those orbs is so small. The window of consistent profit is so small. And we started doing, okay, well, what if we did a reversal? What if we had, kind of like you talked about earlier, a range play? You know, what are all the different combos we could slap onto this thing and test? And then that turned into, okay, well, let's apply that concept to a larger range. And oh, wow, we could do any range. Well, these ranges are better because of these reasons. And just a lot of trial and error, I would say.
Yeah.
So like, how do you stay sharp and continue improving while managing growing a community? Because you guys are consistent on that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we're always in tune with what other people are doing and what we're doing. And, you know, we're on stream every day, so people are saying things to us, and sometimes they give us an idea, you know, and we'll look into it. Like, if someone in our Discord or in stream, hey, I want to build a system, what do you guys think? Like, I'll build it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think the thing is just stay open-minded.
Right.
You know, like, if I can build another system that makes money, like, I'll definitely do it. Like,
Yeah.
I'll definitely do it.
Yeah, you know, it's like funny, man. There was this one guy. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen him. His name's Anton. He's like pretty popular on YouTube. He was like a large hedge fund trader, you know. And he was talking about. I think he was saying that like he builds around 5 strategies like a week.
Oh wow.
You know, and so I think that that's kind of the cool part of systems is like once they're built, they're built,
Right.
and the hard work's done, and it's like then you can just test it and see what's working best right now based on what you want to do. If you're aiming for the highest win rate possible, you could filter through your system, say what's winning the most right now, you know, or opposite it, you know, if you want like the highest just profit factor, if you're just worried about return, not down draw or anything, then you could filter the systems that way. And so as long as you're always building and always testing, it's kind of like you never run out of ideas, you know.
And like, so going into you guys having that community, what made you decide to start live streaming your trading sessions? What made you start to do that?
I don't even know. I mean, I don't remember if it was me or Cam, but one day, I mean, we were just on like TradingView or something, and we were trading together and getting alerts from the systems, and it was like, and so I had like a education company, Division 1 trading, and I really wasn't doing much with it at all anymore. And I was like, man, I'm like, why don't we just kind of do that, but with this, like with the algos and kind of what I'm kind of seeing is like the new age stuff, you know? And so we streamed on YouTube for like maybe a month and had like 4 viewers. And then I got on TikTok, and one day the TikTok Live Studio app popped up. And so I was multi-streaming, and I just got on TikTok Live, and it was like right when when we started streaming, Cam actually came to the US, and we were chilling for like a couple days. And it was perfect alignment, like right when the Trump tariff like drama took off. So we get on TikTok, and like our first stream, I think we had like 300 people in there.
Wow.
Or something like that. And Cam was just programming a system on TikTok for everyone to see. And it was like, whoa, there might be something here. Like, it looks like there's a strong community of traders just on TikTok, you know? And so, really from there, we're like, okay, awesome. Like, if we can get enough attention where people are going to care about this stuff, then we can turn it into, you know, systems that we can essentially sell to people, you know, and let them use instead of just streaming in the mornings ourselves, you know?
Yeah. And it's funny because our original intention was never to make like this big Discord service. Like, you know, we were trading together, just him and I, for, you know, over a year just together on Discord. And I started building these tools, and I was like, you know, it would also be useful to have more feedback on what we're doing, get more ideas. Do you know what I mean? Get more input on systems and things that other people are doing. So, we got a couple people in. We didn't get as much feedback as I think maybe that I was expecting. But then it kind of grew into that. Like people were like, "Oh man, we really like using these tools." Using our tools is not going to make you into some kind of perfect trader. Do you know what I mean? But it's just giving you some edges and advantages and ways of looking at the market. Obviously the algo stuff, that'll be different. But we have our little beta group that are getting started now, and then we will put it out for people to use, and the hope is that we will get more feedback. Someone will test some settings that I didn't think of trying, and through that kind of like crowdsourcing the problem, we can make the systems better. Because obviously just between me and Tyler, we won't think of every possible variation.
Right.
But if we have 10, 20, 30 people trying the systems, all watching it live, we'll find bugs faster, we'll get ideas faster. Like, it should, in theory, just speed up the development of everything we're doing.
So how has going live every day influenced the way you trade or think during the session?
I would say it hasn't. I mean, it makes it more fun.
Yeah.
I like when people come in there and like, obviously I like when people like our stuff, and that's good, but it's almost a lot of fun because there's so much banter too, where it's like, people will come in there and talk mess, and I'll get to kind of have that battle with them of like, because I've been trading 11 years, I was in ICTs, you can see the poster, I was in ICT's private mentorship. It's like, I've been there, done
Right.
that. I've seen all the stuff that comes in between, and it's like, I get where a lot of people come from. So it's like when people come in and they're talking mess and they're like, well, why are you using a 1-to-1? This needs to be at least a 3-to-1. And I'm like, you don't understand how the relationship between risk to reward and a win rate. You know what I mean? And so I get to kind of teach people and coach people. And I think some people are, I mean, obviously we're not the greatest traders in the world. I'm just explaining my way of doing it, but I think that does keep things fresh. It keeps it fun where, because with algo trading, sometimes it's pretty boring. Like, man, there's some days where I don't want to do anything but take a trade, and then I get one signal and it gets stopped out and I'm bored the rest of the session, so it's like having the stream and having people to talk to and a community to hang out with. It's like, earlier when I was saying there's not a lot of psychological, but man, that's while the auto trade is rolling, but it's the in between when there's no trade and you're bored and you just want to do something. The stream definitely helps a lot with that, where it cures my boredom. I'm not looking to cure my boredom with taking a trade. I'll just talk to people in the chat or talk some mess.
Yeah.
And like,
so it's fun.
Like, what has been the most rewarding or surprising part of running a trading community?
We've had some people who have really like been around for a long time. So I think that's cool to see some people who like really stick around even when like sometimes it's a rough month or a rough 2 months and they're still there.
Yeah.
To me that's really cool, just having a couple guys who are always there,
Our day ones, man. We have a crew.
Yeah, like just guys who like, if you ask them to test something, like they'll always test it for you.
Shout out Mac. Big shout out Mac.
Yeah, like there's guys who'll always test it. They'll always be watching it, and that's, to me, that's the best part of it. Like, yeah. I mean, trading's hard enough as it is. So having a couple guys where, they're really part of your support crew in a way.
Right.
It helps a lot because, we develop a lot of systems. We're going through quite a rapid evolution in terms of how things are changing.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's probably been one of the best things about it.
And do you ever feel the pressure to perform on stream? Like, how do you deal with negativity or trolls? Because that's inevitable.
I feel like I don't really worry about the trolls as much. Some days, like there was one day where I got a little fired up. But I mean, most days I feel like most trolls, to me at this point, I see it as ignorance, I'm like, if I could talk to this person, if I could sit them down and explain to them, if I could just take what's in my head and just throw it in theirs real quick. Like that's kind of what I try to do, you know, because it's like I feel like most people they don't understand trading. Like, you know, something I just mentioned is like, man, we have a system, it'll trade a 1-to-1, and sometimes it's even a little bit less, right? But it's got a 75% win rate. And so it's like most people are so uncomfortable stepping outside of that it freaks them out, you know? And so like being able to kind of like there's been a few times where people come in and they're complaining about something like that or trying to poke fun, and I'm like, hey, look, let me show you why this makes sense with data and with logic rather than just saying this is what you do to make money, you know?
Yeah. Because I think that's the thing with trading, right? Is that there are some very successful traders who trade 3-to-1s, 4-to-1s, 5-to-1s. Like, that's completely normal.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, and there's guys who trade 1-to-1s, and there's guys who trade like 0.5-to-1s. The thing is, there's 1,000 ways to make money in trading, but there's also like 10 million ways to lose money.
Yeah.
So the thing is, that, you know, we don't need to get too caught up in details with these guys and like, oh, this will never work or blah blah blah. Like, the truth is, they just bring in free engagement to the channel.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if you keep that in mind and you get them to talk more, then your stream will be recommended more.
Yeah.
And so really, like,
Yeah.
all trolls are welcome. You know what I mean? Even if we end up flipping out, like, that just makes for a more entertaining stream.
Yeah.
So either way, it's net positive for us, whether it's a bunch of trolls or a bunch of nice guys. It actually, in reality, doesn't matter.
That's one argument I've used is like pointing that exactly out is like, man, everyone needs to be on our trading stream because we're taking trades live that are repeatable and based off data. So if we're doing something good and you want to be a part of the community, you're going to make money. But if you think we suck and we're terrible, you should still be in our stream. You should come in there and trade against us because we're doing something that's consistent and repeatable. So if we're just going to be consistently losing, you could come in our stream and consistently make money.
Yeah.
Right now, I believe in what we do, and I could show you that what we do works and yields a profit. But if you want to be, you know, trolling, you're more than welcome to come in and trade against us. You know, we welcome you.
Yeah.
So like how with everything going on in the world, you got Israel and Iran about to go to war with each other. You got Russia and Ukraine with the issues that they got. These world issues are affecting the market conditions. How do you view current market environment? Like, are there any opportunities or risks that you're watching closely?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I think now more than ever, you have to be ready to hit the stop button.
Yes.
At a moment's notice.
Yeah.
And I think that's all it really is, right? I don't think, you know, I think times like these, you just have to be more attentive to what's going on. Because someone could say something and then the market flip 2%, you know, within an hour. So I think just during these times, you want to trade far less than far more. Do you know what I mean? Because we want to be able to still make money 2 months from now. So if we blow things up now, when tensions are high, eventually everything will get back to normal. In terms of opportunity, I mean, I think the biggest opportunity right now is to observe the market in high tension fashion, right? Because how often are you going to get to see how the market moves when the market can move based on tweets, right?
Yeah.
So it's data for your mind to say, is this a tradable environment, or do you know what I mean? Like I traded through that the market top in 2021, traded all through that down draw. I know now how to survive through a very bearish market.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So that's to me, that's the opportunity. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go out and buy $2,000 worth of fast coins. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, opportunities like that will always be coming and going. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, Israel, go buy all the defense stocks. You know, sure, I'm sure there's opportunities like that all over the place, but there always will be. There always will be some opportunities somewhere. I think for us as day traders and swing traders, this is just an opportunity to see what does the market look like when it's extremely volatile, and news events can shift everything just overnight.
Yeah.
So, like, how has the trading landscape changed since you started, and where do you think it's headed in the next few years?
Cam, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah.
I gotta run. We got my wife's doctor's appointment.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I'll just leave with this. I think we're entering a new age. I've been, telling Cam this. I don't think that we'll have like manual traders 10 years from now. I think that the systems are going to be updated so much so that I think most people are going to be able to program their systems so much easier. And I think that it's going to shift it into the hands of systems and algos. And I think technical stuff is probably going to phase out
Right.
in comparison.
Okay.
But yeah, man, great podcast. You guys finish it up, and I'll see you guys
For sure.
later.
Catch you, T.
Cool, man. Have a good one.
All right, y'all.
Peace.
And like,
Yeah, so
Mhm.
so the future of trading for me, I do agree in some regards with Tyler that we will see a lot more algos, a lot more individual traders using algos. But I think there'll always be a place for manual traders, right?
right.
Because if you're a manual trader and you can identify what the market's doing, I mean, you can still trade and make money if you have the right personality
Right.
for it. Because the truth is, AI is very powerful, but it's not all powerful, at least not yet.
I mean, there has
You
to
know
be
what I mean?
someone to build that AI. So it's
exactly.
ultimately human emotion anyway.
Exactly. And so if you get 100,000 people going on Grok or ChatGPT, plugging in their charts, and if they're all on the same platform, the AI is probably going to come all to the same conclusion, right? So, and then that market move is going to happen. So if you're watching these market moves happen, and they always happen, they'll just continue to happen. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it'll change anything fundamentally. Things that I see that fundamentally change the market is like when they introduced the zero DTE options, right? To me, that was a fundamental change in the market, right? Because now you have tons of volume expiring on that day every day versus like it used to be like every Friday, and then you get OPEX and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? When volatility comes in. I think if they change the stock market to 24/7 or whatever they're proposing, I think that'll be a fundamental change. But I don't think AI will be a fundamental change, because I think the way AI works is it's programmed on data. So in order for an AI to take the trade, it looks at what the market's done previously and then replicates that into the future. So on that line of logic, therefore, the market shouldn't change much.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's just continuing essentially what the market's always done, reinforcing the trends. That at least that's my take on it, right? I just look at things like zero DT options change the market. If they do 24/7 trading, that'll change the market. If they change the office hours of the New York Stock Exchange, that would change the market. But fundamentally, I think it's the same. Like, even with Bitcoin, everyone was like, yeah, Bitcoin's going to change the market. But if you go and look at the way Bitcoin moves in the chart, it's not that much different from NQ or ES. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that much different. So it's like, it's just the same trend playing over and over again. You just can't tell exactly when it's going to happen. Like with the weather. I can't tell you for sure it's going to rain on Sunday. I know there's a storm front off the South Atlantic. There's a chance. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like the market's like that, right? You can kind of see it maybe gearing up for something. But you can't know for sure exactly when it'll happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, what are some common myths about day trading you wish more people understood?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think day trading is a get rich quick scheme. I think a lot of people come in there from that perspective. I think that's a myth for 99.99% of people. You know what I mean? I think there are people who come in here and just absolutely kill it. You know what I mean? But they have something that's very specific to them that allows them to do that. So if you're not one of those people, then you kind of just have to follow the regular path of development. So I think there's a myth that you're going to come into day trading and kill it. I think it's a myth that you will just start killing it within your first 2 years. I think the chance of that happening, it's not entirely a myth, but it's just extremely low percentage of people, right? So if I know that there's a 95% chance that it'll take me more than 2 years to get good, why would I plan on a 5% chance of me getting good? Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, you got to think about it, at least in my opinion, you have to think about it like that, right? And so I also think that there's a lot of like trading advisors and mentors out there, and they all claim to have the best system. I think people kind of create myths around these people, because like, let's say you're a new guy and you're learning, I don't know, a 15-minute breakout strategy, and so you become convinced by these things. So I guess the myth there really is that the market's always just going to do what it does. Do you know what I mean? It's always going to stay the same, and that's not true. I think the market is not that predictable. Do you know what I mean? Because there's always a myth of guys saying, "Oh, I can predict this, I can predict that, I know what's going to happen next." And it's like, well, you don't. Yeah, you don't actually. You just have a good idea.
And my saying is always,
you know what I mean?
We can't predict the market. We can only move with it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, just get in on the move. Like, once it looks like it's going to do what you think it's going to do, and then execute.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so I think there's this whole myth of like, the market's predetermined and it's predetermined going to get to this level. Like, that's not true at all. I think if the market can get enough people on side, that'll happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. Like, you can be wrong and still not have the level that you're looking at invalidated. It might just happen tomorrow. It might happen next week, Tuesday. Do you know what I mean? So it's like this idea of like, okay, you find a level, okay, it's definitely going to hit. Yeah, it will definitely hit, but maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow.
Right. I've had times when I've had an idea that I want to see play out, and it doesn't happen within a particular time range, and it may happen outside of that time range, and I'm like, well, damn, my idea was still valid.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and so you have to detach yourself with your sense of time and your idea happening, because like I said, like 9 times out of 10 or 8 times out of 10, the levels that I call are really good, right? But I always preface it with like, guys, this doesn't have to happen today.
Right.
Anything could change. There's no that's another myth, and this is my opinion. I don't have any evidence to support this, right? This idea that the market's controlled by like one central algo, I think is a fundamentally flawed logic.
Indeed.
Right? Because if we know that the market, especially day trading, is kind of like a bit of a zero-sum game. It's not entirely, because economies grow, but if there's a bank in California that's trading Forex, they're not going to be running the same algo than the bank in Japan is, because the bank in California is trying to sell these contracts that one's trying to buy. Do you know what I mean? They're trying to take money from each other. So how could you have one central algo that's doing that? And obviously the guys who make the market and put liquidity into the market, they're also there to make money, right? And so if you have more than one market maker that are both trying to make money, you fundamentally have a state of competition.
Right.
So how would you have a central algo? To me, there's thousands, maybe even millions of algos, and they're all vying for their little piece of the market. So I do believe the market is predominantly controlled by algos, but it's a lot of them, and it's a lot of competition at different levels between hedge funds and banks and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
It's a constant war, tug of war.
Constant war, yeah. If there's like 8 pieces of a pie, and there's 10 of us trying to get it, do you know what I mean? We're not going to create an algo and then, I mean, when in human history have we ever been that civilized? Do you know what I mean? We're not going to be like, okay, let's make an algo and we'll divide these 8 pieces up perfectly between all of us. No, we're going to rush in and get what we can. I mean, like we did that since the days of ancient Rome. Like, nothing's changed.
So what is one mistake that you see new traders making over and over again?
Revenge trading's a huge one.
Yeah.
Okay. Not forcing discipline into their trading. That's probably the biggest mistake. Their second biggest mistake is getting stuck into trading religion.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Getting so convinced by somebody or something that it'll work all the time.
Yeah.
Right? that you ignore everything that you're looking at and still do it anyways.
I see
You
it.
know what I
I
mean?
see
Like,
it a
it's
lot with
so,
ICT
yeah.
traders.
Yes, because they believe 9 to 10 and they go for the whatever, and they just take it every single time. Even if we're up 3%, they're still going to take that long. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's like, okay, maybe don't trade today.
man.
The silver bullet works, but it works under very specific conditions at specific times of year. Like, it's not I'm going to retire on this
Right,
strategy.
right.
Yeah. And I think it's also, yeah, coming back to that trading religion stuff, it's like, but just be open-minded about where you get your
Right,
data.
right.
Keep your mind open to it. Like, ICT has that, what's it called? The golden something or another, where price goes up and retraces like 75% and then goes. I can't remember what it's called.
Like a golden
It's like
Fibonacci ratio.
yeah, something like that, right? I found a video, or I didn't find it. Someone posted a video of a guy about 17 years ago teaching that strategy before ICT, and it's called a 3/4
Yeah,
pull.
yeah.
So a move happens, comes down 3/4 of the
Right.
way, and then continues, takes the other high. So I was like, well, if I'd been led to believe that ICT programmed the market, then it's like finding out that Jesus isn't
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wait, hang on, I thought you wrote the
Right.
market, and everything you say should always
Right.
happen. And it's not just ICT. There are other traders who try to mimic this behavior. So all I'm saying to like new guys is just be
Right.
open. I know everyone's like, don't change your strategies every week. Sure, but there's nothing wrong with trying out 100 different
Right.
things.
And finding what works
Just
for
be
you.
consistent. Yeah. Be consistent over time. Like, don't try one today and then try one tomorrow and then try one the next day. Sure, but give them all a good try. Make sure you're looking at how would the strategy have performed over 2-3 years. And I think if you have anything that's good within a 2 to 3 year time frame, then it's worth trading forward until it stops working, and then take out the money that you made and see where it goes, and then work on it and see if it can be changed and adapted.
And if you could go back to your first year of trading, your very first year, what advice would you give your past self?
Don't trade live money.
Yeah.
I started trading with, off the bat, all of my own capital, and I lost it all.
Oh man,
Probably like about 50 grand within the first year.
jumped off the porch.
Yeah.
Just straight into it,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Paper trading is your friend.
Right.
People on stream and on Twitter, they hate paper traders, but paper trading it's an excellent
Right.
tool for practice.
And half the time you don't even know people are paper trading, and you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 90% of my trading on stream is paper trading, and I'll say this is paper trading.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like if I'm showing the algos like I am now, I'll take the trade on paper on my screen, but that same system is running in the background on my live account.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like I don't need to show the literal dollars and cents of what's in my account.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? I'll just say, hey guys, I am following this trade, or I'll say, guys, this is just a paper trade. I'm just playing around.
Yeah.
Don't take this trade seriously. Because sometimes I want to try things, because the number of ideas that I've gotten over time by just trying random stuff on the chart is crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you about this 5-minute strategy of mine. And this is a perfect example of why just playing around with stuff sometimes leads you down interesting roads. So I have a strategy that looks at the high and low of the previous 5-minute candle, right? And I was like, well, what happens if I just put a limit order long at the top of the candle, my stops at the bottom, and I just get whatever I can get above that candle? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I started playing around with it, and it was doing well, and then it did bad, and then it did well. It was inconsistent. So then I built a system around it, and I backtested 5 years, and I was like, wow, okay, it does a lot of this. So it's overall profitable, but not profitable enough to be worth my time. So then I was like, okay, well, and then I left it alone for like 6 months. I didn't touch it again. And then I came back to it recently, and I was like, what if I looked at seasonal times where it runs the high and then closes back inside of the previous 5-minute candle. And so I built a system now, and I have this running on a prop firm account where it draws out the high and low of the previous 5-minute candle. As soon as it breaches the previous candle high, it goes short. So it's the opposite of what I was originally thinking. So it pops the high and goes short. And then the TP will be the bottom of the candle, right? Or it'll just close on the 4th minute of that 5-minute candle, right? And it just does that every single 5 minutes for as long as I set it to. And so what I found is that on Monday and Tuesday, that system works really well from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. So from 10 to lunch. It works really well, and it makes sense because a lot of that during that time you see charts kind of consolidating and kind of chilling out, so it works well. And then on Friday, it's like from 12 to lunch works very well, and then the last 2 hours of the day work really well. And so, yeah, sometimes I think just being open-minded, trying different stuff, will eventually, you'll go through this evolution of finding things that work and don't work, but you can't ever be too convinced that, you know, if you see the sun with your eyes, it is the sun. Someone can't tell you, hey, it's actually the moon. It just looks like the sun. And then you just believe it for eternity. It's like, if you try the silver bullet exactly the way it's meant to be done, if it doesn't work, keep your mind open and be like, cool, I can maybe modify this or find something else. Like, it's not a big deal to try a lot of stuff, and then, because I think eventually you'll start creating your own way of doing things. Yeah.
So regarding you and TJ, you and Tyler, man.
Yeah.
What is the long-term vision for you guys? Are you building a brand, an empire, or just doing it for the love of the game?
To be honest, my interest in the brand is quite low. If I'm being honest, yeah. Like, I don't ever want to make more money from my Discord than I do from trading.
Right.
Yeah. And I understand there's a lot of traders out there that do and still provide a good service, so it's not a knock on anyone who does. But I want to be able to just, like, I have family in the UK, I have family in South Africa, I have family in America. My only goal is just to be able to
visit them.
Work from wherever I want.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so, to be honest with you, the Discord and the live streams, like, it is a lot of maintenance. It's a lot of stuff to do. So I rely primarily on my algos, and the trading community, like, the whole reason we even started was I was just looking for more people to interact with what I was doing. I was just looking for more ideas.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the only reason I even said, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, but, you know, I've put hundreds of hours in these systems. Like, I'm not going to just give it away.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because then you get too many entitled people who will take it and then just basically give you shit ideas because they're not invested in the product.
Right.
But, like, if someone's paying, and it's not a lot. I mean, we charge like $30 a month, and you get like 6 indicators.
Yeah.
So, but I just want people who are invested, like, because, you know, this guy's at least paying something. He must be at least a little bit serious about what he's doing. He's not just gonna fill up my inbox with junk. You know what I mean? Like, if someone wants me to design a system, like, I don't want it to be something like he's just a free indicator. He's just trying to, you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. Like, I want guys who are actually trying to make it in this game, because it is very hard.
Right. And it's hard to find people that are serious, man. It's a lonely game. Yeah. You know what I mean? Being a trader is a lonely game, man. And finding a community is golden.
Yeah. No, it is. And so that's why I say, you know, my interest in growing Trade Buddy is not really my priority. Like growing Trade Buddy is awesome, and I think it's great. But in terms of the money, I mean, as a trader, my money should be coming from my algos.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So if Trade Buddy does get huge, you would honestly probably see me step away more. Like, I probably wouldn't even do the live streams anymore. I'd just be focused on the systems.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And that shows genuineness.
I mean, that's just my opinion. Yeah, that's just my opinion. I'm just like, if my algos don't make money, then what am I doing on stream? And that's why I'm honest with people. And I try to tell them, like, we're testing it. This has only been in testing for a week. This is not a $1 million a month product. Like, you know, and that's why I love the guys who have been with us for the long haul, because they've gone on this journey with us. Do you know what I mean? Like they know these things take time and they don't always work out, and sometimes they work for a bit and they stop working.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And that's the reality of trading, I think, for everybody.
Yeah. So if it all ended tomorrow, what do you hope people would remember about the community that you built?
I would just hope that, we're transparent and that trading is very hard and that most people won't make it. And it's the guys that push through the difficulty that will. Even through overwhelming odds, like there's just every failure is an opportunity to maybe innovate a bit more.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, man, Cam, I do appreciate you, brother. This has been a wonderful conversation, both of you and Tyler, man. I mean, my first time being able to have an extensive conversation with both of you guys, and it's been nothing short of great, man.
Yeah, no, definitely appreciate you having me.
For sure. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. And guys, thank you for tuning in to the NOFOMO podcast, especially if you made it all the way here. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. This is where we discuss being cool and adapting to today's ever-changing markets. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe, and make sure you tune in so that you don't miss out on the future drops. We're going to put all the links for Cam and Tyler so that you can get in with the trade buddies and connect with them. And just stay tuned, man. We'll have plenty more coming. When it comes to trading, the best mindset to keep is no FOMO. Y'all be cool, and we'll catch you on the next one.